Welcome to Sleepy Science. In the quiet world of forests, every leaf, every shadow, every breath of cool air seems to whisper something soft, something slow, something made to calm you down. Tonight, I want to take you there, into places where sunlight drifts like warm dust, where trees hold centuries in their trunks, and where the earth moves at a pace that kind of makes your eyelids grow heavy. This video is filled with the most relaxing facts about forests, the kind that settle your mind, slow your thoughts, and help you drift off without even trying. So take a breath, let everything soften around you. If you feel the calm settling in, go ahead and subscribe so you never miss a night like this again. Stepping into a forest always feels like crossing a soft line between two worlds. One moment, you're in the open, the noise, the heat, the rush, and the next, everything just drops away. The air cools a little. The light shifts. Your breathing slows without you even noticing. You take one more step, and it's like the forest reaches out and puts a quiet hand on your shoulder, not to stop you, just to let you know you're safe here. You can almost feel the space opening around you, stretching wider, softer, deeper than where you just came from. It's subtle, but your body picks it up instantly. The light is the first thing that changes. Out there, it's sharp, straight, busy, but under the canopy it softens like cotton. Sunbeams slip through leaves in slow, broken ribbons. They land in little pools on the ground, glowing on moss, warming bits of bark, fading into gentle shadows. It's the kind of light that feels like it's been filtered through time. Quiet, slow, almost shy. Even the air looks different in it. Dust becomes gold, mist becomes gold, mist becomes silver. The forest makes its own color palette, and you just step right into it. Your senses start picking up things you don't notice anywhere else. The faint crunch of leaf litter under your shoes, a bird calling far away, a shift in the wind that brushes against your arm like something curious passing by. There's a smell, too, sharp but soft, earthy but fresh. People always say forest air feels clean, but it's more than clean. It's alive. It carries hints of pine, sap, damp soil, bark warmed by sunlight. It's the kind of air that fills your lungs all the way, slowly, and makes your shoulders drop, makes your spine loosen, makes your thoughts quiet down without a fight. The science behind that feeling is pretty simple, but kind of beautiful. Forest air is full of tiny compounds called phytoncides. Plants release them as a way to protect themselves. They drift through the air in little invisible clouds, and when you breathe them in, something gentle happens inside you. Your heart rate dips, stress hormones fall, your nervous system shifts out of alert mode. It's like the forest is saying, "Hey, you're good. You can relax now." And your body listens. Humans evolved in places like this, under trees, around leaves, so the response is built in, ancient, automatic. Every plant around you is quietly participating in this. Pines, firs, oaks, cedars, all releasing their own versions of these natural aerosols, each one with a slightly different scent, a different feel. They mix and drift and settle into the air in a way that makes a forest smell like nothing else on earth. And the crazy part is, the forest isn't doing it for you. It's just doing what it's always done. You just happen to benefit from it the moment you step inside. The forest is operating on its own slow rhythm. You simply fall into sync. There's a moment, usually a few steps in, when your body adjusts to the shade. It happens around your eyes first. The brightness fades, but it doesn't feel darker. It feels calmer, more balanced. Your pupils widen a little. Colors shift toward greens and browns. Everything looks softer, rounder, more stable. Even shadows look friendly in here. Then your skin picks it up. The temperature drop, the faint humidity, the stillness of the air. Your breath cools slightly as it enters your chest. Your muscles let go of tension they were holding without permission. The forest doesn't rush you. It just absorbs you. And then there's this strange sensation, like the forest is breathing with you. It's not literal, but it feels that way. Trees pull in air. They release air. They trade gases the same way lungs do, just on a slower timeline. When you inhale, the scent of leaves and bark and soil slides in. When you exhale, the space takes it without resistance. You and the forest settle into a rhythm that's older than anything else you know. The connection feels simple, natural, like something you didn't know you missed until it returned. If you stop walking for a moment, you might hear the soft click of a branch adjusting somewhere above, or the quiet hiss of wind moving between needles, or nothing at all, just the deep silence that forests hold like a secret. That silence isn't empty. Leaves curling slightly as light shifts, insects moving across the ground in steady little paths, all of it happening at a pace that pulls your mind downward into stillness. As you walk deeper, the world behind you fades even more. The air thickens with scent. The ground becomes softer, layered with needles and old leaves. Your footfalls grow quieter, and the forest grows louder in a quiet kind of way. Not noise, just presence. You start noticing the way roots snake just beneath the surface, pushing the soil into gentle ridges. How rocks sit half-buried like they've been resting there for centuries. How everything seems placed with purpose, even though none of it was placed at all. The forest around you is old, older than anything you can truly imagine. Some trees have been standing here for hundreds of years, some for thousands. They've watched storms rip through, watched seasons cycle endlessly, watched animals come and go, watched humans walk beneath them with the same expression you have now, half awake, half dreaming. You're stepping into a living timeline. Every scent, every patch of shade, every cool breath holds some piece of the past. And as your mind drifts in that direction, you realize something. Every feeling you're having above the ground is shaped by something waiting below it. Beneath your feet lies a world even more alive, more complex, more quiet than anything on the surface. A world of roots, threads, tunnels, and slow, patient exchanges. A world that makes the forest possible. A world you're about to step into next. Right beneath your feet, the forest becomes something completely different. Up above, everything feels open, calm, gently moving with the wind. But the moment you start thinking about what's going on in the soil below, the whole forest shifts. It turns into a hidden universe, packed so tightly with life that every handful of dirt could hold more organisms than there are humans on Earth. It's a world that doesn't make a sound, doesn't need light, doesn't move in ways you can see, but it's working every second, slowly, quietly, keeping everything above alive. If you could shrink down and slip into the soil, the first thing you'd notice is how layered everything is. Leaf litter on top, then a soft, dark layer of half-decayed things, then deeper, older layers packed with roots and tunnels and pockets of air. None of it is still. Even if it looks like it from where you stand, every inch of this place is drifting, shifting, breaking down, rebuilding. Kinda wild when you think about how calm it looks from the surface. Threading through all of this is fungi. Thin filaments stretching like pale strings through the dark, each one so small you'd barely see it with your own eyes, but together they form networks that can cover miles. These threads, called hyphae, move silently through the soil. They wrap around roots, slide between grains of dirt, slip through cracks as if the ground is water, and they don't rush. They drift, slowly, patiently, like they've got all the time in the world. This is the part of the forest people call the Wood Wide Web, a calm, ancient system that lets trees talk to each other without ever making a sound. The fungi link one tree to another, and then another, until the whole forest is connected in one giant underground mind. When a tree gets more sunlight than it needs, it sends extra sugars down its trunk, through its roots, and into the fungal threads. Those threads carry the sugars to another tree that needs them, maybe a younger one, maybe one stuck in shade, maybe one damaged by insects. The forest doesn't think about it the way we do, but it shares, constantly, quietly. And it's not just sugars. Minerals drift through this underground web the same way. Tiny particles of phosphorus, nitrogen, iron, all moving slowly from one spot to another. The fungi pull them out of the soil. Trees pull them out of the fungi. Then the cycle repeats over and over with no hurry. It's like a silent handshake happening every second. The forest makes deals with itself, deals that keep everyone alive. Walk a little further in your mind, and the soil thickens with movement you can't see. Microbes, millions upon millions of them, bacteria, tiny fungi, protozoa, all operating in complete darkness. They break things down grain by grain by grain. They release nutrients like dust from old leaves. They build soil structure. They shift chemicals around. These microbes are the real architects of the forest. The heartbeat down here doesn't come from roots or rocks. It comes from them. A pulsing, microscopic rhythm that never stops. Every bit of decay you see on the forest floor, fallen branches, dead leaves, old roots, ends up passing through this underground team. They take everything apart slowly, turning what's old into what's useful, turning what's dead into something that can feed life again. And they do it in silence, no sound, no light, just a continuous patient cycle that keeps the forest stable year after year. Roots move through this dim world like explorers. Some are thin and delicate, some are thick and strong. They slide into open spaces. They sense moisture. They sense nutrients. They avoid rocks. And they always keep growing. Not fast, just steady. A tree only stands strong because its roots reach deep. Some roots spread wider than the tree is tall. Some dig straight down. Some twist in arcs like slow-moving snakes, and all of them stay connected to the fungal threads, making that network even larger. What's surprising is how organized it all is. It's not chaos, not random. Every root, every filament, every tiny creature has a place, a role, a rhythm. The ground beneath the forest works like a quiet city where no one ever races, no one ever shouts, but everything gets done. If you could listen to it, it might sound like the slow hum of time itself. When nutrients drift through the soil, they don't rush toward the roots. They move like dust in water, floating, spreading, spinning lightly. The forest doesn't force anything, it waits. And the things it needs arrive at their own pace. It's a lesson the forest teaches without words. Slow doesn't mean weak. Slow can mean steady, intentional, balanced. Even the pockets of air in the soil play a role. They hold oxygen for roots. They let water seep downward in soft currents. They give space for insects and worms to move. Those worms, by the way, shape the soil more than most people realize. Their slow tunneling mixes the layers, bringing old nutrients upward and pushing fresh material downward. One worm can turn the soil of an entire forest over time. Not fast, not flashy, but consistent. And that's enough. All of this, the fungi, the roots, the microbes, the drifting minerals, forms the base of the forest, the true foundation. When you stand on the surface and look up at a massive tree, you're really seeing the work of everything hidden below. Trees don't stand tall because they're strong. They stand tall because something underground is always supporting them, feeding them, communicating with them, holding them upright like family. When a storm hits and trees bend but don't break, it's the roots that anchor them. When leaves burst in spring, it's the nutrients gathered quietly in winter that make it possible. When a tree survives drought, it's because the underground web shares water, passing it from one place to another. The surface world might look like the main show, but the forest knows the truth. Its power lies below. As you imagine this quiet, hidden universe, it becomes easier to understand how the surface world feels so alive. Everything above is a reflection of everything below. The calm you feel when you step into a forest starts down here. The stability, the balance, the softness in the air, all of it begins with threads, roots, and tiny lives moving in the dark. And soon, as you rise back toward the surface, you'll see how these underground systems shape the giants standing above. The towering trunks, the slow, powerful growth, the way trees reach for the sky with patience older than memory. Above the hidden world of roots and fungi, life begins to rise. Tiny shoots push through the soil, breaking into the open air as if testing the sunlight for the first time. At first, they are delicate, almost fragile, trembling in the breeze. But every inch of growth is a quiet triumph. Each centimeter is measured, deliberate, a patient negotiation between life and gravity, between the seedling and the forces pressing down from all around. The forest teaches patience. Trees do not hurry. They grow in rhythms dictated by the seasons, by the availability of light, water, and nutrients. To watch a tree grow is to witness a conversation with time itself, a slow unfolding of life that asks only that you notice its persistence. Inside every trunk, life moves in secret, invisible to the casual eye. Water rises through xylem vessels like a pulse, inch by inch, carrying nutrients absorbed from the soil to every leaf above. This flow is steady, relentless, a quiet heartbeat that sustains the forest. Day after day, year after year, water climbs hundreds of feet without ever faltering, feeding cells that transform sunlight into energy, energy into structure, structure into wood. The process is astonishingly simple in principle, yet staggeringly complex in execution. Gravity pulls downward, yet life moves upward, defying it with patient resilience. Each tree becomes a living pump, a steady engine converting the raw elements of the earth into towering forms. Without this invisible pulse, the canopy would wither and the forest would lose its voice. The story of a tree is written in its rings. Each year, the trunk adds a layer, a quiet chronicle of survival and growth. Wide rings signal seasons of abundance, wet years when water is plentiful and sunlight generous. Narrow rings mark droughts, harsh winters, and struggles endured. Within the cross-section of a single trunk lies centuries of history: storms, heat waves, floods, even volcanic eruptions, all recorded in silent wood. Some trees, the ancient giants of temperate forests, carry more than 1,000 rings. Imagine that, a single tree holding millennia of memory within it, a living archive of climate and life. Dendrochronologists call this science, dendrochronology, but to the listener it is a story told without words, a whisper of the forest's resilience, patience, and continuity. Sunlight is transformed into life. Leaves, perfectly positioned to catch the first rays of dawn, convert photons into sugars. These sugars move downward through the phloem, feeding cells that will harden into wood. Light becomes energy, energy becomes growth, and growth becomes towering form. Each branch, each twig, each fiber is the product of this quiet alchemy. Some trees reach extraordinary heights, stretching over 80 meters, their crowns touching the sky while their roots anchored deep into the soil. In their reach for light, these giants create a living architecture, a cathedral of green, structured with elegance, precision, and strength. The forest, in this way, is a carefully orchestrated system. Nothing is wasted, nothing is random. Every trunk, every branch, every leaf is part of a larger design, even if that design is invisible to us. Standing tall is not merely a triumph over gravity, it is a careful balance of physics. Thick trunks counteract the pull of wind, storm, and gravity itself. Roots extend both deep and wide, forming invisible anchors that prevent the tree from tipping. Branches fan outward strategically, maximizing light capture while shedding weight. Bark thickens in defense against disease, insects, and fire. Every structure is designed to endure. A forest may appear chaotic, wild, untamed, but in reality, it is meticulously engineered by millions of years of evolution. Every trunk is a marvel of biomechanics, every leaf a solar collector, every canopy a climate regulator. Nature's engineering is quiet, patient, and immeasurably resilient. Some trees live for millennia. They witness the rise and fall of civilizations. They see rivers shift course, mountains erode, humans come and go like flickers of time. Their endurance is not a matter of toughness alone. It comes from connection, from the underground web that links root systems, from the neighboring trees that share nutrients, from the invisible networks of fungi that transmit messages and sugars across distances. The forest itself is a community, and each trunk is both an individual and part of a greater whole. Disease, drought, and fire are threats, but they are met not with solitude, but with collective resilience. Each tree is protected, supported, and reinforced by its neighbors. The forest, in this sense, behaves almost like a single organism, vast and intertwined, every giant a vital part of the whole. Leaves reach for sunlight like tiny hands, eager to touch the warmth and energy above. They twist, turn, and angle themselves to capture photons, maximizing energy intake. Morning light filters through the canopy, creating a mosaic of shadows and brilliance. Each leaf plays a dual role, capturing light for photosynthesis while also regulating temperature and moisture. As leaves breathe, they release oxygen, a gift to the air, while also emitting volatile compounds that communicate with neighboring trees and even repel insects. The interplay of light, leaf, and wind is a dance repeated across millions of leaves, a symphony of photosynthetic activity that is both delicate and powerful. Some trees are architects of history. The General Sherman tree, a giant sequoia, is not the tallest or the oldest, but it is the largest by volume. Its trunk alone contains over 1,000 cubic meters of wood, outweighing dozens of blue whales. To stand at its base is to feel your own smallness, dwarfed by centuries of growth. Mosses cling to its bark, birds nest in its branches, and insects live in every crevice. This single tree, massive and ancient, hosts life on a scale most humans cannot imagine. Every inch of its body is a testament to time, to growth, and to the interconnection of all life within the forest. Water, energy, nutrients, and light. These forces converge in a slow, steady rhythm that drives the forest upward. Growth is measured in millimeters, in subtle shifts, in the quiet stretching of cells over days, months, and years. Bamboo, by contrast, can grow nearly a meter in a single day, a reminder that the forest also contains bursts of explosive life. But for most giants, growth is deliberate, slow, and patient. It is in this slowness that beauty, resilience, and majesty emerge. Every inch gained is a negotiation with the world, a small miracle performed silently, day after day. The giant trees of the forest are not just vertical monuments, they are ecosystems. Each canopy is home to countless birds, insects, and epiphytes. Leaves and branches provide shelter, food, and breeding grounds. Hollowed trunks house owls and bats. Vines wind around trunks like natural staircases. The giants are, in themselves, entire communities of life, supporting biodiversity on a scale that human constructions rarely achieve. Their presence is felt not just visually, but atmospherically. They regulate humidity, capture rainfall, shade the forest floor, and even influence wind patterns. The rising giants shape the forest in ways both visible and invisible. As you imagine standing beneath one of these ancient giants, notice the slow pulse of life. Feel the rhythm of growth, the steady ascent of water through xylem, the gentle sway of leaves above. Sense the energy moving silently from root to tip, the unspoken history recorded in each ring, the promise of new growth carried in every bud. The forest is a cathedral of patience, a monument to time, a living archive of both the past and the future. Every giant tree teaches us that life does not hurry. Life persists. Life endures. And as you look upward, let your mind drift toward the canopy, toward the leaves reaching for the light. In the next module, we will explore the forest above ground, where these giants breathe, shape the air, and even influence the weather itself. For now, let your imagination rest beneath the tall trunks, feeling the quiet heartbeat of giants and sensing the slow, magnificent rise of life itself. Above the trunks, the forest canopy stretches outward like a great green ocean. Each leaf, delicate yet precise, forms a tiny panel in this vast living machine. If you could look closely, really closely, a leaf is a marvel of design. Its surface is patterned with tiny veins, carrying water and nutrients from the roots below, spreading life across its thin, translucent body. The edges of leaves catch sunlight at angles that seem almost deliberate, each one positioned to maximize its quiet, unhurried work. Light filters through the canopy in a mosaic of greens, yellows, and golds. Some rays strike the forest floor directly, forming small, warm patches of sunlight, while others glint and scatter as they hit hundreds of overlapping leaves. It is in these leaves that the forest performs one of its most extraordinary tasks, photosynthesis. This quiet alchemy transforms sunlight into energy, allowing life to persist in an intricate balance. Water pulled up from roots meets carbon dioxide absorbed from the air. In the presence of sunlight, these raw elements combine to form sugars, the tree's fuel and oxygen, a gift to the forest and to the world beyond. Each leaf is a miniature solar collector, a perfectly tuned instrument capturing gentle wavelengths of light. Chlorophyll, the pigment that gives leaves their green hue, absorbs the reds and blues while reflecting the calming greens that wash across the forest floor. Other pigments, like carotenoids and anthocyanins, absorb light in subtle ways, shaping the palette of the forest. In autumn, these pigments reveal themselves as reds, oranges, and yellows, a quiet celebration of seasonal change. Every leaf contributes to the orchestra of light, filtering, reflecting, and transforming sunlight into life-sustaining energy. Leaves move almost imperceptibly, swaying with the softest currents of air. The whisper of their motion is a form of communication with the world, a tactile response to wind, temperature, and humidity. When the breeze flows, leaves turn, flutter, and shift, catching light differently with every subtle movement. It is a choreography of patience and precision, repeated millions of times across the canopy. Even in still air, leaves breathe in their own rhythm. Tiny pores, called stomata, open and close like countless minuscule lungs, exchanging gases with the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide enters, oxygen exits, and water vapor drifts into the air, a quiet mist rising from the forest floor to mingle with clouds above. This constant exchange is the forest's breath, invisible yet vital. The stomata do not open at random. Each pore senses moisture, light, and internal pressure, adjusting to maintain balance. In hot, dry conditions, they close to preserve precious water. In cool, humid moments, they open wide, facilitating growth and energy production. This rhythmic opening and closing is the hidden heartbeat of the forest, a quiet pulse that sustains life. It is subtle, almost imperceptible, yet without it, the forest could not thrive. Every leaf participates in this synchronized dance, a delicate machinery working in silence, hidden from casual observation, but essential to the ecosystem's survival. Beneath the leaves, the forest floor feels filtered, softened by the shade above. Sunlight arriving here has passed through countless layers, transformed in color and intensity, shaping life in the understory. Ferns, mosses, and seedlings adapt to this dappled light, growing in response to patterns dictated by the canopy. Even animals notice the effects. Insects may follow the patches of sunlight, birds adjust their flight paths, and mammals move with awareness of light and shadow. The forest is a multi-dimensional system where energy from the sun is captured, filtered, and dispersed in 1,000 nuanced ways. Leaves are not only collectors of light, but also architects of microclimate. The water vapor they release through transpiration rises into the air, influencing humidity and temperature beneath the canopy. In tropical forests, this can create cool, moist layers that shelter life from the harsh sun above. The combined effect of millions of leaves moving, breathing, and releasing moisture shapes the very air you breathe as you walk beneath the canopy. In a sense, the forest is performing a quiet engineering feat, regulating its own temperature, humidity, and airflow, all through the simple, continuous activity of leaves. Some leaves even produce chemicals that drift into the air, affecting other plants or deterring herbivores. The scent of pine, eucalyptus, or cedar is not mere fragrance. It is a signal, a defense, a communication between trees and their environment. When inhaled, these airborne compounds can even affect human mood, reducing stress, lowering blood pressure, and creating a sense of calm. Walking through such a forest, you feel it instinctively. The world slows, breathing eases, and thoughts quiet. Leaves, in their silent work, are not only supporting the life around them, they are shaping the experience of being within the forest. Every leaf participates in this vast, patient system. Some are simple and small, others large and ornate, but each contributes to the energy flow and climate regulation of the forest. The canopy is not a static ceiling, it is a dynamic, living machine, responsive to sunlight, temperature, wind, and water. Its movement is subtle but constant, a rhythm of life that you can feel more than hear, a gentle sway that whispers of the unseen work taking place overhead. When clouds form above the forest, leaves have already played a part. Water vapor rising from transpiration contributes to condensation, influencing local rainfall patterns. In this way, the canopy is a quiet weatherman, releasing moisture that eventually returns as rain, completing a cycle that sustains life across miles of forest. The connection between leaf and sky is intimate, invisible, yet undeniable. Each leaf is a tiny actor in a planetary scale system, linking the microcosm of a single tree to the macrocosm of climate itself. As you imagine the canopy above, think of each leaf as both an individual and a part of a greater whole. Each captures light, breathes, releases moisture, and communicates chemically. Together, they form a network that shapes energy, climate, and life beneath and above. The forest is alive not only in what you see, but in the air, in the light, and in the gentle, rhythmic movement of millions of leaves. And as we prepare to move into the next module, consider the quiet power of this machinery of light. From the microscopic stomata to the shimmering canopy, leaves are the interface between earth and sky, capturing sunlight, shaping climate, and orchestrating the subtle rhythms that sustain the forest. Next, we will explore how the canopy itself influences weather, creating its own microclimates and even affecting rainfall far beyond the forest edges. For now, rest in the gentle shadow of leaves, feeling the calm pulse of life and light flowing all around you. Step deeper into the forest, and you immediately notice a subtle change in the air. The temperature softens, a gentle coolness wrapping around your skin. Sunlight filters in patches through the canopy, but even these dappled rays feel muted, softened by layers of leaves overhead. The forest is a master of its own climate, quietly shaping the world within its borders. One of the most immediate forces at work is evapotranspiration. Every leaf, every blade of grass, every patch of moss releases water into the air, creating a thin, almost ethereal mist that drifts among the trunks. It hangs softly, catching stray beams of light, turning the forest into a dreamlike landscape of green and silver. This mist is not just beautiful, it is the forest's way of moderating temperature. The release of water vapor cools the air gently, creating pockets of relief from the heat outside the forest edges. Even in the heart of the day, the forest interior can feel several degrees cooler than the surrounding world. Airflow slows under the branches. As wind reaches the dense canopy, it diffuses and curves around trunks, branches, and leaves. What could be a harsh gust in an open field becomes a gentle caress here, barely stirring the lower leaves. This subtle control of airflow, combined with rising humidity, makes the forest a sanctuary of calm. It is a living environment designed not just for trees, but for the countless creatures that call it home. The air carries scents of earth, resin, and damp moss, each inhalation a reminder of the quiet chemistry at work. Humidity rises under the forest roof, thickening near mossy rocks, fallen logs, and shallow pools of water. Mosses and lichens, often overlooked, act as tiny sponges, soaking in water and slowly releasing it into the surrounding air. This steady contribution helps form microclimates, distinct zones within the forest where temperature, moisture, and light are delicately balanced. A shaded grove may feel like a different world from a sunlit clearing only a few meters away. Every step is a transition between these miniature climates, a journey through subtle gradients of warmth, dampness, and cool air. These microclimates create miniature rain cycles within the forest itself. Water vapor rising from leaves and soil condenses on higher foliage, forming droplets that eventually fall back as a fine drizzle. It is a soft, natural rhythm repeating countless times each day. In some tropical forests, the canopy alone may capture enough moisture to sustain entire sections of the ecosystem, even in the absence of rain. It is a quiet, continuous hydrological ballet, one that happens silently above and around you, unnoticed by most human eyes, yet essential to life below. The forest's interior is a study in contrast. At the edge of a forest, sunlight warms the soil and plants quickly. Air currents carry heat outward, mingling with cooler pockets of shade. Step just a few meters inside, and the temperature drops. This gradient is gentle but perceptible, a slow shift that invites your body to adjust. Your breathing deepens as your skin cools, muscles relax, and the forest atmosphere begins to settle your mind as much as your body. Nature has built a natural thermostat here, calibrated over millions of years to balance energy, moisture, and life. Humidity, temperature, and airflow are not uniform. They vary with depth, topography, and season. Small depressions in the forest floor may collect mist that lingers long after morning light arrives. Hillsides may channel cool air downward, forming pockets where ferns and delicate understory plants flourish. Even the orientation of a single tree can influence local conditions, casting shade in the perfect pattern to maintain soil moisture and protect seedlings. The forest is a dynamic mosaic of climates, where each patch has its own rhythm and character, its own gentle sway between warmth and cool, light and shadow. All of this weather, the mist, the microclimates, the hidden rain cycles, shapes the creatures that live here. Amphibians, for instance, thrive in the humid understory, their skin adapted to absorb moisture directly from the air. Birds take advantage of calm pockets of air to build nests in safety, while insects follow gradients of light and humidity to find food, mates, and shelter. Even mammals are influenced by these subtle variations. Foxes, deer, or monkeys may prefer certain zones within the forest, moving fluidly with the invisible patterns of temperature and moisture. Life here is orchestrated by the forest's quiet mastery of climate. The mist itself plays a role in guiding movement and behavior. Tiny droplets cling to leaves and spiderwebs, reflecting the sun in soft, shimmering patterns. For birds and insects, these visual cues signal time, direction, and opportunity. Predators and prey alike adjust to the slow, deliberate diffusion of air, moving with an almost intuitive understanding of the forest's hidden rules. At night, the microclimates shift again. Cool pockets deepen, fog settles in hollows, and the forest interior becomes a sanctuary of calm darkness. Creatures adapted to these conditions emerge from their hiding places, while others retreat, following the subtle temperature and humidity cycles written by leaves and branches above. As you imagine walking through this environment, notice the way the air wraps around you. It is both a product and a partner of the forest, a living envelope that carries scent, moisture, and temperature in perfect harmony. Each inhale draws in more than oxygen. It is a sip of an intricate system designed over eons to maintain life. The forest is not passive. Every tree, moss, and fern contributes to this atmosphere, shaping the very space you inhabit. You are moving within a climate engineered by leaves and roots, branches and soil, a delicate collaboration between sunlight, water, and life itself. Even the softest rain that falls within a forest is shaped by these microclimates. Water that would otherwise rush down hills and into rivers instead lingers, absorbed by layers of leaves and soil. Tiny streams form and dissolve, droplets collect in leaf axils, and the forest floor becomes a patchwork of moisture gradients. Life flourishes in response. Fungi release spores, insects hatch, amphibians call, and plants respond with growth. It is a constant, gentle cycle, a quiet testament to the power of forest weather. And as the forest maintains its own climate, it prepares a stage for the next module in our journey. The animals and life forms that move within these gentle, hidden weather patterns. Birds, insects, mammals, and amphibians have evolved alongside this system, perfectly adapted to misty glades, cool hollows, and humid underbrush. Each creature interacts not only with other species, but with the subtle variations in temperature, airflow, and moisture, creating a living symphony of movement shaped by the forest itself. As we drift forward, remember the feeling of the forest air, cool, soft, damp with mist, alive with subtle rhythms. Every leaf above contributes to this environment. Every root below supports it. Every drop of water is part of a quiet cycle that keeps life thriving. Forest weather is not imposed from outside. It is woven from the forest's own energy, a living cloak that protects, nurtures, and shapes every organism beneath its canopy. In this sanctuary of microclimates, you are both observer and participant, carried along by the gentle currents of life itself. As we step deeper into the forest, notice the world beneath your feet. It seems quiet at first, just the crunch of leaves under your steps. But if you slow down, if you lean closer, you realize that the forest floor is alive with its own secret symphony. Tiny lives unfold in shadows, in the detritus of fallen leaves, in the soft hum of damp earth. The scuttling of beetles, the wriggle of worms, the delicate legs of centipedes, all play their part in this hidden world. Their movements are subtle, almost imperceptible, yet they are essential threads in the fabric of forest life. Beetles roam the leaf litter with purpose. Some chew on decaying leaves, turning them into finer material that enriches the soil. Others hunt small prey, silently maintaining the balance of populations. Worms burrow tirelessly, aerating the earth and mixing nutrients as they move. Each inch of soil is a theater of life, a place where survival is quiet and slow, yet profoundly effective. Centipedes glide beneath logs and stones, predators in miniature, yet their presence is measured and rhythmic. Every tiny motion contributes to the forest's overall health, even when invisible to the human eye. Dim light filters down from above, broken by branches and leaves, creating a patchwork of shadow and glow. Camouflage is the language of survival here. Insects wear patterns that mimic decayed leaves, twigs, or soil, disappearing even as they move. Spiders wait motionless in carefully spun webs, while larvae hide inside hollow stems or beneath bark. Predators and prey have learned the same lesson. Life under the canopy is a world of subtlety. It is not a contest of brute force, but of timing, positioning, and quiet adaptation. Decomposers, the worms, the fungi, the small insects often play more important roles than predators. While a fox or a hawk may draw attention, the slow work of decay and recycling is what sustains the forest in the long run. Fallen leaves are transformed into rich soil, providing nutrients for the next generation of seedlings. Dead wood becomes a home for insects and fungi alike, each participant quietly supporting life cycles above. The forest floor hums with this unseen labor, the true engine of renewal that ensures forests remain green, thriving, and resilient. Night changes everything. As darkness settles, the rhythms of life shift. Millipedes stretch their legs under the softened moonlight filtering through the canopy. Beetles and crickets begin their gentle chorus, a subtle background to the louder calls that will fill the trees above. Predators such as shrews and small snakes move carefully, hunting in the dim light with senses attuned to vibrations and scents. Even the tiniest organisms follow cycles, timed to the slow dance of day turning into night. There is a rhythm here that is invisible yet precise, a heartbeat felt in the vibrations of the soil beneath your feet. Life on the forest floor is patient and deliberate. Each organism has a role, and each role supports the others. Without decomposers, nutrients would stagnate. Without insects, predators would lose their food sources. Without fungi, roots would struggle to access minerals. The floor is a hidden stage of survival where cooperation and competition coexist in delicate balance. Step carefully, and you might catch a glimpse of a centipede navigating a maze of roots, or a beetle carrying a fragment of leaf twice its size. These small marvels are reminders that even the tiniest forms of life are remarkable, each adapted perfectly to the microcosm they inhabit. The forest floor also tells the story of cycles and seasons. During rainy periods, the soil softens and creatures move differently. Worms rise to the surface, centipedes seek shelter, and beetles find new paths through saturated leaf litter. In dry seasons, moisture retreats into deeper layers of soil, and life concentrates in hidden pockets. Every step across this ground is a journey through microcosms of time and space, where slow processes dictate the survival of species and the renewal of the forest itself. As we move through this layer, notice how connected it is to the life above. The decomposers feed plants, trees, and shrubs that in turn provide habitat and food for creatures higher up. Seeds buried in the soil will one day sprout and reach for light. Tiny insects crawling among leaves will be food for birds and small mammals. The floor is both foundation and incubator, shaping the lives that will roam the branches and canopy. Transitioning from the soil to the vertical world between the trees, we see how life exploits every niche. Branches and leaves form corridors for insects, birds, and mammals. The patterns established on the floor, rhythms of feeding, hiding, and moving, are mirrored and extended upward. Nocturnal cycles continue, but now in 3 dimensions. Fruit bats glide silently among branches. Owls perch in hidden hollows, and insects hum their quiet songs, carrying nutrients and energy from one layer to another. Every level of the forest is intertwined, a living network of interdependence that begins with the soil and extends to the highest leaves. The forest floor reminds us that life thrives quietly, often unnoticed, yet it is the foundation of all that exists above. The scuttling, wriggling, burrowing, and decomposing life forms beneath our feet are the invisible stewards of the forest's health. They recycle, nourish, and stabilize, allowing the towering trees to rise, the birds to sing, and the nocturnal symphonies above to unfold. Without them, the forest would lose its rhythm, its heartbeat slowing, its cycles faltering. As you walk among these hidden creatures, feel the connection. The gentle hum of insects underfoot mirrors the distant calls in the canopy. The subtle vibration of earth beneath your steps resonates with the rustle of leaves above. You are part of this continuum, observing the forest's quiet mechanisms and understanding, if only for a moment, the patience, precision, and beauty of life that operates beneath sight. And now, as our gaze lifts from the soil, we prepare to explore the life that inhabits the vertical spaces, the animals moving between trunks, along branches, and within the leafy corridors of the forest. From squirrels leaping through boughs to the nocturnal songs of hidden birds and insects, every layer above the floor is shaped by the hidden work below. Life rises, cycle by cycle, from the roots and soil to the tallest branches, a seamless, interconnected web of existence. As we leave the forest floor behind, we rise into the world that exists between trunks and under the dense canopy. Here, life unfolds in three dimensions, moving along branches, across shrubs, and through the understory in ways both visible and hidden. Deer tread softly over fallen leaves, their hooves barely whispering on the forest floor, while wild boars root carefully in the soil, sensing roots and tubers below. Wolves, cautious and deliberate, move in silence, hunting or patrolling their territories, each step calculated, each pause measured. Every movement here is a conversation in quiet, a negotiation between predator and prey, between life and survival. Sound behaves differently in this realm. The trunks and leaves absorb and scatter noise, muting some sounds while amplifying others. A branch snapping under a deer's weight may echo faintly in one direction, yet vanish entirely in another. Predators use silence as a tool, moving with careful stealth, relying on instinct and patience rather than speed. Prey, in contrast, have adapted to sense the vibrations and subtle movements that indicate a presence nearby. The forest itself becomes a filter for communication, shaping who hears whom and what can travel through space. The rustle of leaves, the snap of twigs, and even the shifting of shadows all convey messages in this layered network. Animals rely not only on sight, but on vibration and scent. Deer detect wolves long before they are seen, their sensitive hooves feeling tremors across the soil. Small mammals like mice or squirrels sense the faint shifts of a nearby predator, freezing, climbing, or hiding as instinct demands. Scent trails crisscross the understory, invisible to human eyes, but read expertly by creatures large and small. Wolves mark their paths with urine, leaving subtle messages of presence and dominance. Deer and boars respond to these cues, adjusting their routes and behavior in ways that maintain a delicate balance between hunter and hunted. Territory defines much of life between the trees. Mammals patrol their domains, creating invisible maps through scent, sound, and movement. Social hierarchies emerge in quiet ways, a low growl, a tail flick, a shifted stance. These small signals communicate dominance, submission, or readiness to mate. The forest understory is alive with this subtle diplomacy, a world of communication conducted without words, where every motion carries meaning. Each creature's path, each pause or dart, forms a part of the living tapestry, a delicate choreography of survival. Night changes everything again. As darkness falls, the understory comes alive with different actors. Owls swoop silently, their wings slicing through the air, while raccoons emerge, their masked faces and dexterous paws exploring fallen logs and shrubs. Foxes slip along invisible paths, sniffing for small mammals, while frogs and insects take over the background with choruses that pulse through the night. Even in this low light, every creature has a role, every movement a purpose. The nocturnal world mirrors the day, yet it is quieter, slower, and attuned to senses beyond human sight. The vertical world is not isolated from the floor below. Roots, soil, and decomposers create the foundation that supports every step above. A fallen tree may serve as a bridge or highway for animals moving between territories. Leaves and branches, while home to birds and insects, also provide shelter and camouflage for mammals. Predation, foraging, mating, and play occur in a continuous interplay across all layers, each action affecting others. The forest is a seamless ecosystem, where floor and understory, trunk and branch, life and environment are intertwined. Soundscapes continue to play a crucial role. Each animal has evolved to use or avoid sound strategically. Predators rely on silence to ambush, while prey often use rustling and sudden calls to confuse or warn others. Insects and birds add layers of auditory information, signaling locations, mating readiness, or danger. Some sounds, like the drumming of a woodpecker, travel long distances, serving as markers of territory. Others, like the rustle of small mammals, are fleeting whispers, perceptible only to those listening carefully. The forest's acoustics are as complex as its physical structure, shaping behavior, relationships, and survival. Between the trees, life also depends on microhabitats. Hollow logs, dense thickets, and thick moss layers offer hiding spots, nurseries, and feeding grounds. Arboreal mammals navigate the branches with extraordinary precision. Squirrels leap from bough to bough, their tails balancing and guiding them as they chase food or evade predators. Monkeys in tropical forests move with deliberate grace, swinging through the canopy while keeping alert to danger below. Each species occupies its niche, contributing to the overall complexity of the forest ecosystem. Scent, sound, and movement interweave to create a forest orchestra of subtlety. Even humans, if they stop and listen quietly, can perceive these rhythms. The faint vibration of a branch under a passing deer, the whisper of leaves in a gentle breeze, or the tiny patter of paws across soft earth, all tell stories of lives lived in careful balance. Every action has a reaction. Every presence influences the paths of others. This continuous, silent dialogue between creatures maintains harmony in a space that feels chaotic at first glance, but is, in fact, meticulously organized. The understory also teaches patience and attentiveness. Observing the slow, deliberate movements of deer, the stealth of wolves, or the cautious steps of boars reveals a pace very different from our own hurried world. Life here is measured in careful calculations, in minutes spent observing, waiting, or hiding. Energy is conserved, risks are minimized, and yet every individual contributes to the richness of the ecosystem. Survival is not flashy. It is quiet, continuous, and deeply interconnected. As we prepare to lift our gaze upward from this understory, notice how the life we have observed connects to the air above. Leaves sway with wind currents, carrying sounds, scents, and even pollen. Insects migrate from branch to branch, while birds navigate vertical highways invisible from below. The lives moving between trees are shaped by the hidden forces of the forest floor, the physics of light and shadow, and the architecture of branches that extend above us. The transition from understory to canopy is a journey from the world of shadows to the realm of light and sky, from stealth and whispering vibrations to the songs and displays of creatures inhabiting the air. In this way, the forest between the trees becomes a bridge, a living corridor linking earth to sky, floor to canopy, shadow to sunlight. Deer, boars, wolves, and countless other mammals navigate it with silent expertise. Their movements, combined with the rhythm of the wind, the swaying of branches, and the chorus of insects, create a living pulse that resonates throughout the forest. And above it all, the canopy begins its own stories of life, communication, and survival, waiting for us to rise and listen. As we lift our gaze higher, the forest transforms once again. The canopy is where sunlight first breaks through, scattering golden shafts across the branches and leaves. Here, life reaches for the light, building homes and establishing territories in a world suspended above the forest floor. Birds build nests delicately on forks and twigs, carefully choosing sites that balance safety, accessibility, and exposure to the first warmth of the sun. Each nest is a quiet marvel, a cradle of life woven from leaves, moss, and twigs, holding eggs and eventually fledglings that will learn the art of flight. The canopy is alive with sound, a subtle symphony that fills the air from dawn to dusk. Birdsong dominates, each note carefully crafted by evolution to carry through dense branches and heavy foliage. In tropical forests, the calls of toucans, parrots, and hornbills punctuate the morning air, bouncing off leaves, echoing across gaps, and merging into a layered chorus. Even in temperate forests, songbirds sing with precision, their melodies serving purposes both practical and poetic. These calls signal territory, warn of predators, attract mates, or simply maintain contact with family groups. Every sound is measured, designed to survive the acoustics of this leafy labyrinth. Evolution has shaped these calls in remarkable ways. Dense forests absorb and scatter sound, so species have developed unique frequencies and rhythms to ensure their voices travel far enough to reach intended listeners. Some birds emit high-pitched, piercing tones that slice through layers of leaves. Others use rhythmic patterns or trills that echo clearly in shadowed understories. Each adaptation is a testament to the persistent negotiation between physics, biology, and survival. Listening carefully, one can hear the overlapping strategies of dozens of species, each attempting to be heard without drowning another out. A living, breathing orchestra conducted by the forest itself. The canopy is not just home to birds. Small mammals have adapted to this suspended world with extraordinary ingenuity. Flying squirrels, lemurs, and gliding possums navigate branches with precision, leaping from tree to tree with airfoil-like flaps or strong tails for balance. These mammals exploit the vertical space for feeding, evading predators, and seeking mates. Their movements are almost silent, yet every shift in branch or leaf can be detected by alert predators below. The forest is alive in 3 dimensions, a complex dance of energy, intent, and survival. Canopy predators also patrol this elevated realm. Hawks, eagles, and owls monitor movements from above or between the leaves, ready to strike with deadly precision. Owls, in particular, dominate the nighttime canopy, using incredible hearing and silent flight to capture prey under the cloak of darkness. As night falls, their calls replace the daytime chorus of birds, adding deep, resonant notes to the forest's nocturnal soundscape. Even in the heights of the canopy, life follows a rhythm dictated by light, shadow, and the subtle chemistry of the air. The forest canopy affects more than life among branches. Leaves and branches shape airflow, temperature, and humidity, creating microclimates that touch every creature in this high world. Sunlight filtered through the canopy warms some areas while leaving others in gentle shade. Tiny pockets of still air and humidity form around dense foliage, providing moisture for mosses, ferns, and insects. Every layer of leaves contributes to a delicate system, influencing evaporation, condensation, and the formation of clouds above. It is here that the forest begins to interact with weather, subtly, invisibly, yet profoundly. Birds themselves play a role in shaping forest dynamics. By dispersing seeds across vast distances, they contribute to the growth of future generations of trees. Their feeding habits, nesting choices, and even droppings alter the composition of the canopy, creating new opportunities for life above and below. In this way, the voices of the canopy echo not only in sound, but in life itself, influencing the structure, diversity, and resilience of the forest. Small nocturnal creatures, too, maintain the canopy's rhythm after the sun sets. Tree frogs call with soft, rhythmic trills, insects hum or chirp in overlapping frequencies, and bats swoop silently, capturing insects mid-flight. These nocturnal sounds layer over the whispering leaves, forming a complex soundscape that signals the forest's constant life. Even when the human ear perceives only quiet, the forest is alive with intention, strategy, and communication. Every wing beat, trill, or rustle has meaning, contributing to the ongoing dialogue between species. The canopy also mediates rain and storm cycles. Leaves intercept raindrops, slowing their fall and breaking heavy showers into gentle patters on the branches below. Sunlight absorbed by the leaves warms the air, creating small updrafts and contributing to localized cloud formation. As moisture rises, it interacts with air currents and temperature gradients, sometimes forming the early stirrings of rain. In this way, the canopy is not only home to countless species, but an active participant in shaping the very climate of the forest. Every leaf, branch, and tree contributes to subtle weather patterns, forming a living interface between the earth and sky. Observing the canopy is a lesson in layered life. Each layer of leaves, each branch and twig supports networks of life that extend outward and downward. Predators, prey, and scavengers all navigate this space with care, responding to vibrations, scents, and sounds. Birds communicate not only with one another but with the surrounding environment, altering light patterns, seed dispersal, and even microclimates. The forest canopy is a world in itself, alive with subtle movement, soft light, and continuous interaction. And as storms gather or rains begin, the canopy becomes both shield and amplifier. Leaves funnel water, roots and branches channel moisture into the forest floor, and animals respond with instinctive precision. Birds seek shelter or adjust their calls, small mammals move to safer perches, and the entire forest seems to pause, listening, breathing, and responding. The air fills with scent, humidity rises, and the rustle of water through leaves creates a gentle, immersive symphony. It is here that we begin to perceive the intimate connection between life in the trees and the cycles of rain and wind that touch the forest. From this height, it becomes clear that the canopy is both a sanctuary and a laboratory. Life thrives in niches defined by light, shade, and airflow. Communication evolves to match these conditions. Predation, reproduction, and survival are orchestrated within a living scaffold that reaches skyward. The canopy shows us that life is not uniform but sculpted, layer by layer, branch by branch, note by note. Every call, rustle, and movement matters, contributing to the resilience and beauty of the forest. As we prepare to descend from this high world, the forest invites us to notice the influence of air, moisture, and sound. These elements connect the lives of the canopy dwellers with the cycles of rain, storms, and microclimates that sustain the entire ecosystem. Just as we have followed life from the forest floor to the understory and now the canopy, we begin to see how these layers are intertwined with the forces of water, wind, and weather, creating a dynamic, living system that is both ancient and immediate. Step into a forest as a storm begins to gather. The first raindrops are soft, almost tentative, tapping gently against leaves, sending a quiet rhythm through the canopy. Each drop is a tiny percussion, echoing across branches, rolling along trunks, and dripping to the forest floor below. There is a softness to it, a delicate reminder that the forest is alive not just in sunlight, but in rainfall, in the constant interaction between water and leaves. The sound of water in a forest is a symphony in miniature. Drops collide with leaves of varying shapes, creating countless tones, from sharp plinks to deep thuds. Each species of tree produces a slightly different sound. Broad-leaved tropical species give a fuller, heavier note, while needle-like pines create a higher, sharper ping. To stand beneath the branches is to feel enveloped in sound, every drop a gentle drumbeat that echoes the pulse of the forest itself. As rainfall increases, water travels through the forest with purpose. Leaves channel it along veins, branches direct it down to trunks, and roots absorb it deep into the soil. The forest does not merely receive rain, it participates in it. Trees and plants act as buffers, absorbing energy from wind and water, slowing torrents and preventing soil from washing away. Roots anchor the soil while trunks sway, bending gracefully rather than snapping. This flexibility is a hidden resilience, evolved over millennia to withstand storms that might topple weaker systems. The forest, in essence, dances with the storm, yielding where necessary but remaining steadfast overall. Wind behaves differently inside a forest than in open spaces. As gusts enter the leafy corridors, they slow, split, and spiral around trunks and branches. The taller trees, with their dense crowns, act as windbreaks, shielding understory plants and animals. The microclimate shifts in real time. Temperatures drop slightly as air moves more slowly, and humidity rises as water evaporates from wet leaves. Birds tuck themselves under branches, frogs and small mammals seek shelter, and insects cling tightly to leaves and stems. The forest is not passive. It modulates the forces of the storm, softening extremes while remaining fully engaged with nature's turbulence. Lightning streaks across the sky, momentarily illuminating the forest in stark contrast. Thunder follows, rolling through the valleys, echoing between trunks and under the canopy. Some trees may be struck, their bark scorched or branches splintered. Yet even destruction is part of the forest's narrative. A fallen tree becomes shelter for insects, fungi, and seedlings. Opened canopy gaps allow sunlight to reach previously shaded areas, encouraging growth and diversity. Storms, in this way, are both challenge and opportunity, a natural sculpting force that shapes ecosystems over decades and centuries. Rain and wind create a sensory experience unique to forests. The scent of wet soil rises, the earthy aroma of decomposing leaves mingling with the freshness of rain on foliage. Mosses glisten with moisture, tiny droplets refracting soft light filtering through the clouds. Streams swell and flow faster, cascading over roots and rocks, carrying nutrients to distant parts of the forest. The rhythmic patter of rainfall, combined with the rustling of branches and occasional call of a protected bird or distant animal, forms a rich tapestry of sound. This is the forest in motion, alive in ways that humans often overlook when observing only in calm weather. Storms also reinforce connections between life and climate. Trees release water vapor through their leaves, contributing to local humidity and even cloud formation. The combination of rainfall and transpiration creates miniature cycles of precipitation within the forest itself. Rainfall cools the air, but the forest's wet surface also stores energy, releasing it slowly and affecting microclimates long after the storm passes. In tropical regions, these processes can even influence weather far beyond the immediate forest, with forests acting as quiet architects of regional climate. The movement of branches and leaves and wind is not chaotic. It is a subtle, orchestrated response to forces that could otherwise cause harm. Trees bend, twist, and sway in unison, reducing strain on trunks and preventing breakage. Some species have evolved leaves shaped to reduce wind resistance, while others have flexible branches that move with the air. Over time, the forest learns from repeated storms, strengthening itself, maintaining balance, and ensuring that both ancient trees and newly sprouted saplings can endure the challenges of wind and rain. Waterfalls, rivulets, and puddles form in the forest after heavy rain, creating new habitats for amphibians and aquatic insects. Frogs call from hidden pools, insects skitter along wet surfaces, and small mammals hunt or forage at the edges. The storm is a temporary disturbance, yet it triggers cascading life events, from breeding signals to feeding cycles, demonstrating the intricate interdependence of all forest dwellers. Even the smallest creatures sense the shifts in air pressure, humidity, and temperature, adjusting their behavior accordingly. As rain diminishes, the forest enters a transitional state. Leaves drip persistently, the ground exudes a warm, earthy aroma, and light begins to filter through dispersing clouds. Colors become more vivid, greens shine with saturated intensity, moss glows with emerald brilliance, and pools reflect the newly brightened sky. Birds emerge to shake off droplets, insects resume their gentle chorus, and mammals cautiously return to their routines. The storm leaves the forest refreshed, transformed, and ready to continue its quiet, ceaseless life. Through all of this, the forest teaches patience and resilience. Storms remind us that growth and survival are not always calm or predictable. Trees sway, but rarely fall. Roots hold fast, branches break occasionally, but life persists. The storm is a natural teacher, showing how a system can absorb energy, adapt, and continue in harmony with forces far larger than any single organism. The forest is both vulnerable and strong, fragile in moments yet indomitable over centuries. Finally, as the storm clouds part and sunlight returns, the forest undergoes a seasonal transformation. Rainwater nourishes the soil, encouraging the next flush of growth. Seeds germinate, leaves unfurl, and the canopy regains its dappled golden glow. Streams carry sediments and nutrients to new areas, refreshing life from root to leaf. The cycle of rain, wind, and storms becomes another layer in the forest's ongoing story. A reminder that change, though sometimes violent or sudden, is essential to resilience and renewal. Standing beneath the shelter of branches or walking along the leaf-strewn floor, one can feel the quiet energy of these events. The forest teaches that strength and flexibility, patience and responsiveness are the rhythms of life itself. From here, the forest transitions seamlessly into seasonal patterns. Spring's tender shoots, summer's full canopy, autumn's fiery leaves, and winter's dormancy. Storms are not interruptions. They are a natural pulse in the ongoing heartbeat of forests, linking weather, life, and time in a dance that has endured for millennia. Walk into a forest as spring begins, and you are greeted by subtle transformations. Tiny buds unfurl on branches, delicate leaves stretching toward the sunlight with quiet determination. Each shoot seems to reach upward with purpose, a soft whisper of renewal after the stillness of winter. The air carries a freshness, faintly scented with moist soil and tender greenery, signaling life's return. Spring is the forest's gentle awakening, a time when roots sense warmer soil, sap rises steadily through trunks, and seeds buried in the earth stir to life. The colors are understated at first, pale greens, tender yellows, hints of pink and white from early blossoms. Everything is soft, as if the forest itself is breathing deeply after months of dormancy. As spring matures into summer, the forest becomes saturated with color, sound, and energy. Leaves have thickened, creating a dense canopy that filters sunlight into soft, scattered beams on the forest floor. The greens deepen into rich, vibrant hues, each tree contributing to the layered palette. Summer is the forest at its fullest. Photosynthesis is in full swing, air is heavy with humidity, and the chorus of life is relentless. Birds sing persistently, insects buzz through every layer, and mammals take advantage of abundant food. The forest feels alive with motion, though it may seem deceptively still when observed from a distance. Sunlight streams through the leaves, warm but softened, painting moving patterns on the ground that shift with every breeze. The canopy provides shelter not only from predators but from the intensity of the sun, creating a cool, dappled refuge beneath. Every drop of water absorbed, every photon of light captured, fuels life above and below ground, sustaining the intricate network of creatures, fungi, and plants. Then comes autumn, and the forest begins its transformation into a living tapestry of fire and gold. The pigments in leaves shift, creating brilliant reds, oranges, and yellows, a chemical symphony that signals preparation for winter. Chlorophyll fades, revealing carotenoids and anthocyanins, each playing its part in the display. Leaves rustle underfoot, crisp and fragrant, a sound and scent that mark the passage of time. Autumn is a season of subtle urgency. Trees conserve resources, redirecting energy to roots and trunks, while animals sense the shortening days and adjust behavior. Birds begin their migrations, squirrels gather nuts, and fungi thrive on the decaying foliage. The forest floor becomes a mosaic of colors, shadows, and textures, each contributing to the forest's quiet, ever-changing aesthetic. As autumn fades, winter arrives with a slower, more deliberate rhythm. The forest's heartbeat slows, leaves have fallen, leaving skeletons of branches silhouetted against the pale sky. Frost may dust the ground, and snow may blanket the landscape, muffling sound and softening movement. Trees enter dormancy, conserving energy, maintaining only the essential processes that allow them to survive until the return of spring. Beneath the surface, roots continue their quiet work, accessing water and nutrients stored in the soil, while microorganisms beneath the leaf litter persist in subtle cycles of life. Animals adapt too. Some hibernate, some migrate, others adjust activity patterns to survive the scarcity of food. The forest, though quieter, is far from lifeless. Even in winter's stillness, subtle activity continues, a reminder that life never truly stops, it only shifts pace. Each season reshapes not only the forest's visual palette, but also the behavior of its inhabitants. Animals are attuned to these cycles, responding to subtle cues in light, temperature, and food availability. In spring, nesting begins. In summer, foraging is intense. In autumn, preparation and storage dominate. In winter, patience and endurance take precedence. Trees themselves participate in this cyclical rhythm. They shed leaves to conserve water and energy, adjust internal chemistry to survive cold, and coordinate growth with the returning warmth of spring. This synchronization ensures the forest remains resilient across years, even decades, despite the ever-changing environment. Beyond colors and behavior, seasons influence the forest's microclimates. Sunlight angles change, altering the warmth of soil patches, while snow or rainfall modulates humidity. Microbes in the soil adjust activity levels, releasing nutrients in sync with temperature and moisture shifts. Streams swell or shrink according to rainfall and snowmelt, affecting amphibians, fish, and water-dependent plants. The forest is not merely reacting to seasons, it is co-creating them, participating in a continuous dance with temperature, water, and light. Seasons also reveal the forest's hidden timekeeping mechanisms. Tree rings record the ebb and flow of wet and dry years, of abundant summers and harsh winters. Sap rises in spring and falls in autumn, creating a living chronicle of annual rhythms. Fungi fruiting cycles follow moisture and temperature patterns, sometimes producing spectacular displays after rain. Animals carry internal calendars, their behaviors shifting even before the weather changes noticeably. Every organism, visible or hidden, contributes to the seasonal symphony, each responding to the subtle cues that define the passage of time in the forest. Ancient forests hold even deeper stories of seasonal adaptation. Old-growth trees have weathered countless cycles of growth and dormancy. They provide continuity across generations of plants and animals. Beneath their canopies, the understory and soil contain layers of life that have survived through centuries of changing seasons, offering both stability and renewal. Mosses, lichens, and perennial herbs act as timekeepers, slowly recording changes in climate and environment. These ancient systems demonstrate how resilience is built not in a single season, but across the recurring patterns of years, decades, and centuries. Spring's first greens can calm the mind and renew energy. Summer's lushness inspires awe. Autumn's fiery display evokes reflection, and winter's quiet stillness encourages introspection. Forests connect us to time in ways that human constructions rarely can. They are living calendars, marking change and continuity simultaneously. By observing seasonal shifts, we can sense the cycles of growth, decay, and renewal that sustain life across millennia. From here, the forest transitions naturally to its deeper history. Ancient trees and fossilized landscapes reveal stories of life long before humans walked the earth. Seasonal cycles seen today echo patterns that shaped evolution, guided species adaptation, and fostered biodiversity. The forest is not merely a seasonal spectacle. It is a living archive, a repository of time layered over millennia. Every bud, every leaf, every snow-laden branch carries traces of resilience, adaptation, and continuity, offering lessons about patience, rhythm, and balance. In this way, the forest becomes a teacher of temporal awareness. Observing its seasonal palette encourages us to slow down, notice subtle changes, and appreciate the interconnectedness of life. From spring buds to winter dormancy, forests demonstrate that time in nature is neither hurried nor wasted. It is measured in cycles, in subtle shifts, and in patient endurance. The colors, textures, and behaviors of the forest remind us that every moment is part of a larger rhythm, one that sustains life in quiet, continuous ways. As we leave this module, we move from observing the present cycles to uncovering the past. Ancient forests, fossilized remnants, and living time capsules link the forest's seasonal rhythms to Earth's deep history. These stories reveal how life has endured, adapted, and evolved through countless cycles, providing perspective on the forest not just as a seasonal playground, but as a chronicle of life itself. Step quietly into an ancient forest, and you enter a world where time moves differently. Here, centuries are measured, not in human lifespans, but in the patient rise and fall of trees, in the slow layering of soil, and in the quiet pulse of life that has persisted for generations untold. Primeval forests, untouched by chainsaws or roads, hold a serenity born of endurance. The trunks you pass may have stood for hundreds, even thousands of years, watching sunrises, storms, and seasonal shifts that no human has ever witnessed. Moss clings to bark in thick blankets, lichens create delicate patterns across branches, and fallen leaves have long since decomposed into rich humus that nurtures new life. In such forests, the air carries a deep, earthy scent, an olfactory reminder of the continuity of life, a perfume composed over centuries of slow growth and decay. Fallen giants are perhaps the most striking testament to the forest's enduring rhythm. When an enormous tree finally succumbs to age or storm, it does not simply vanish. Its massive trunk becomes a cradle for new generations. Seedlings take root in its decaying wood. Fungi thread through its fibers, and insects carve out hidden chambers. Mosses and ferns blanket it in green, while birds and mammals find shelter within its cavities. The fallen tree, once a towering sentinel, transforms into a nursery, sustaining the next wave of forest life. This cycle growth, death, renewal occurs over decades or centuries, almost invisible on a day-to-day basis, yet shaping the very structure and character of the forest. Ancient forests accumulate deep layers of life, each strata a record of ecological memory. Soil here is not just dirt, it is a living chronicle. Decomposed leaves, animal remains, fungal networks, and microbial communities blend to form thick, nutrient-rich layers. Buried within are seeds and spores from centuries past, waiting for conditions to awaken them. Beneath your feet lies a complex web of life that has evolved in tandem with the towering canopy above. This stratification supports remarkable biodiversity, allowing countless species to coexist, each finding its niche in space, light, and soil. The depth of life accumulated over centuries gives ancient forests a stability that newer forests rarely achieve, a steady hand guiding evolution and survival. Biodiversity in these forests is a testament to time's patient craft. Species that require very specific conditions can persist here, buffered by the long-term stability of climate, soil, and canopy structure. Birds, insects, fungi, and mammals adapt not just to each other but to a forest shaped over centuries, forming networks of interdependence that are subtle yet resilient. The forest becomes a complex, self-regulating system where every organism, from the tiniest microbe to the largest predator, contributes to equilibrium. Ancient forests are living libraries of genetic diversity, holding lineages that may have existed for tens of thousands of years, sometimes surviving ice ages, droughts, and storms that wiped out surrounding landscapes. Forest memories are stored not only in soil or trunks, but also in pollen, spores, and seeds. Layers of pollen deposited over centuries create a timeline of species presence, climate fluctuations, and ecosystem changes. Scientists examining sediment cores or bog deposits can reconstruct entire histories of forests that no human eye has witnessed. These natural archives reveal how species have responded to warming, cooling, and rainfall changes, how forests migrated, and how certain trees and plants endured. In a sense, every ancient forest is a living historian, recording its own story in leaves, roots, and spores. By observing these records, we glimpse the persistence and adaptability that have allowed forests to flourish across eras. Time in these forests feels slow, almost elastic. A century passes as a whisper. A single tree can see the rise and fall of entire generations of animals and humans alike. Entering an old-growth forest can evoke humility. You feel yourself small, temporary, and fleeting, while the living giants around you embody resilience and continuity. Sunlight filters through high canopies, illuminating branches that have withstood storms for decades. Each sound, the creak of a branch, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a bird, is layered with centuries of similar echoes. Walking quietly, you begin to sense the rhythms of this slow hand of time, a heartbeat measured not in hours or days but in decades and centuries. Yet ancient forests are not static. They are dynamic ecosystems, constantly renewing themselves. Canopy gaps formed by fallen giants invite new growth, allowing light to reach seedlings and undergrowth. Streams change course over centuries, redistributing nutrients and shaping microhabitats. Fungal networks and root systems adapt slowly, spreading and connecting trees in ways that take generations to evolve. The forest is a master of slow-motion adaptation, resilient precisely because it moves at the pace of centuries, not human urgency. Moving outward from these ancient sanctuaries, we can observe global forests and their astonishing variety. Tropical rainforests near the equator, temperate old-growth woods in Europe and North America, boreal forests spanning northern latitudes. They all share a story of time, yet each expresses it differently. Rainforests boast staggering biodiversity, where species diversity and density create a constantly humming symphony of life. Boreal forests endure long, harsh winters, relying on slow growth and seasonal strategies to persist. Temperate forests exhibit pronounced seasonal changes, where life cycles are synchronized with spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Each forest type is shaped by climate, geography, and history, yet the principle remains. Stability over centuries allows complex life to flourish, to remember, and to adapt. Ancient forests also remind us of the interconnection between local and global systems. A single untouched forest in the Amazon, Siberia, or Borneo contributes not only to local ecosystems but to planetary functions, carbon storage, rainfall regulation, and oxygen production. These forests are witnesses and participants in Earth's climatic and ecological narrative. They teach us that life is not measured in individual lifespans, but in cycles, interactions, and the patient accumulation of resilience. As we walk among these forests, the lessons are quiet but profound. Fallen trees feed life, roots connect the living, and layers of soil and pollen preserve memory. Time is neither lost nor hurried here. It is respected, absorbed, and translated into stability. Forests, in their slow, deliberate growth, show us that survival is not about speed or immediate gain, but about endurance, adaptation, and cooperation across centuries. And yet, even as we contemplate these deep-time forests, we sense fragility. Ancient ecosystems are vulnerable to deforestation, climate shifts, and human interference. Preserving them is not simply about conserving scenery or species. It is about maintaining living archives of life, keeping the slow hand of time intact, and allowing future generations to witness continuity that spans beyond our lifetimes. From this contemplation of ancient forests, we naturally move toward the broader picture, global forests, their differences, and the interconnected systems that allow them to thrive across continents. From the quiet, slow rhythm of a single old-growth grove to the vast expanse of forests that shape continents, time's slow hand continues its work, patiently guiding life in rhythms far beyond human measure. As we leave the timeless stillness of ancient forests, our journey expands outward to explore the incredible diversity of forests across the globe. Each forest tells a story shaped by climate, geography, and evolution, yet all share a common thread: life sustained through patience, adaptation, and quiet resilience. From the humid tropics to frozen northern reaches, forests form the lungs, heart, and library of our planet, each ecosystem a unique expression of Earth's creativity. Let's begin in the tropics, where warmth and rainfall remain almost constant year-round. Here, the sun never strays far from its zenith, and every day feels lush, dense, and alive. Tropical rainforests are vibrant, teeming with life from the canopy to the forest floor. Yet beneath this apparent abundance lies a paradox. Decomposition happens at such a rapid pace that nutrients seldom linger in the soil. Trees grow tall, competing fiercely for sunlight, while fungi and bacteria recycle fallen leaves almost immediately. Life here is fast, vivid, and ephemeral, a blur of color, sound, and motion. Orchids cling to branches, monkeys swing between trunks, and birds flash iridescent feathers in shafts of filtered sunlight. The tropical forest is a living kaleidoscope where constant growth meets constant renewal, and every layer, from root to canopy, participates in a rhythm of swift change. Moving from the tropics, we encounter temperate forests, where seasons shape the very structure of life. Spring awakens buds and blooms, filling the air with subtle scents and the quiet hum of emerging insects. Summer brings dense green canopies and warm, dappled sunlight. In autumn, leaves turn gold, red, and amber, carpeting the forest floor with decaying brilliance. Winter slows the heartbeat of the forest. Rivers may freeze, animals hibernate, and trees conserve energy. Life here moves in cycles, each species tuned to the pulse of the seasons. The contrast between warm and cold, growth and dormancy, teaches us that forests adapt not only to daily rhythms but to the long arcs of time, responding gracefully to changing light, temperature, and precipitation. Farther north lie the boreal forests, stretching across Siberia, Canada, and Scandinavia, where winters dominate most of the year. Life here survives against a backdrop of long, frozen months and brief, intense summers. Conifers with needle-like leaves endure frost and snow, while the soil remains thin and acidic, slowing decomposition. Yet beneath the cold surface, life persists. Lichens, mosses, and hardy shrubs create pockets of sustenance for insects, birds, and mammals adapted to extremes. The boreal forest exemplifies patience, a quiet endurance where slow growth and survival strategies allow life to persist against challenging conditions. Each tree, each root is a testament to resilience and careful adaptation. High above, cloud forests cling to mountainsides, shrouded almost constantly in mist. These forests are wet, cool, and mysterious, with moisture suspended in the air like a perpetual whisper. Epiphytes, plants that grow on other plants, blanket branches in thick green carpets, soaking in the clouds that drift through the canopy. Water seeps into every crevice, feeding mosses and ferns and creating tiny waterfalls on leaves and trunks. Unique species thrive here, often isolated by elevation and climate, evolving forms and behaviors found nowhere else on Earth. These forests feel suspended between sky and land, a world of perpetual damp and quiet, where life moves in measured, delicate rhythms. Across all these zones, forests develop unique species adapted to local conditions. From the giant kapok trees of the Amazon to the towering sequoias of California, from frost-hardened pines in Siberia to the delicate orchids of cloud forests, evolution paints each ecosystem with a palette suited to its environment. Some species are generalists, able to survive in multiple forests. Many are specialists, existing only in one precise zone, often invisible to the casual observer. Each organism, from the smallest ant to the largest predator, contributes to a symphony of balance and adaptation, a quiet interdependence that has persisted for millennia. Yet forests are not just isolated ecosystems. They are intimately connected to humanity, offering us food, medicine, oxygen, and inspiration. Cultures across the world have revered forests as sacred spaces, sources of wisdom, and places of refuge. Indigenous peoples often understand these ecosystems with a depth that modern science is only beginning to measure, reading signs in leaves, animal calls, and weather patterns. Forests shape human civilization, influencing climate, water cycles, and the very air we breathe. In return, humans bear a responsibility to protect, preserve, and learn from these living systems, respecting the patience and subtlety of their rhythms. By exploring forests around the world, we see both diversity and unity. Each ecosystem has its own personality, its own cadence, colors, and life cycles. But all forests share a quiet magic, the ability to endure, to adapt, and to sustain life in ways far beyond our comprehension. Whether in the tropics, temperate zones, boreal reaches, or misty cloud forests, these living worlds remind us that life is resilient, intricate, and profoundly interconnected. From this global perspective, we can naturally transition into Module 13, which explores humanity's deeper connection with forests, how we rely on them, how we understand them, and how they, in turn, have shaped the course of human life. Forests are never distant. They are woven into our history, our survival, and our imagination. As we wander deeper into the story of forests, it becomes impossible to ignore the threads that connect them to humanity. Long before cities, roads, and concrete, humans relied on forests for survival. Trees provided the first shelters, their trunks carved or woven into walls, roofs, and shelters against wind and rain. Branches and leaves became tools, from simple digging sticks to complex hunting implements. Fires, carefully tended and fueled by fallen wood, warmed early homes and cooked the first meals. Every branch, every leaf was a lifeline, sustaining humans in ways both practical and profound. Forests were not just material providers. They were pharmacies, offering remedies hidden in bark, leaves, and roots. Willow bark, centuries before aspirin, eased pain. Herbs and resins soothed wounds. Roots and berries became nourishment when other food was scarce. Early humans observed, experimented, and learned to read the subtle signs of the forest, which plants healed, which were toxic, which animals could be hunted safely. Forests became classrooms, teaching patience, observation, and respect for life. Even beyond the tangible, forests shaped our minds. Studies today confirm what humans have long sensed. Walking beneath a canopy calms the nervous system. Heart rate slow, breathing deepens, and stress diminishes. Forests provide a sensory symphony, soft rustling leaves, distant bird calls, the filtered warmth of sunlight that gently eases the mind. Humans are wired to respond to green spaces with peace and focus, to feel a subtle restoration when surrounded by the quiet rhythm of life among trees. The scent of pine, the shadow of a massive trunk, the shimmer of sunlight through leaves all carry psychological benefits that reconnect us to something older than our cities, older than our civilizations. Forests teach us humility. In their patient, slow growth, they remind us of time measured in centuries rather than minutes. In their resilience, they show us how life endures even in the face of storms, droughts, and change. By walking among trees, humans learn to move slower, observe more carefully, and breathe more deeply. This connection is ancient, yet still vital today, offering not only survival but restoration. And as we step forward from this understanding, we transition naturally into the future of forests. How these living systems will continue to shape our planet, how humans might protect them, and how their quiet persistence can guide us toward a sustainable tomorrow. Forests are not just history. They are companions, teachers, and sentinels for the generations yet to come. As we move deeper into the story of forests, it's natural to wonder what lies ahead for these ancient, living communities. Forests have persisted for millions of years, weathering ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and the rise and fall of civilizations. They are patient beings, slow to act, but their resilience is astonishing. Even when disturbances touch them, whether from natural events like fires and floods or human impacts like logging and urban expansion, forests have an extraordinary ability to recover. Nature's work is often subtle, almost imperceptible. Fallen trees, for instance, do not merely disappear. They become part of the soil, slowly releasing nutrients that nourish seedlings, feed fungi, and support the microscopic communities that thrive underground. Seeds carried by wind, water, or animals may land in unexpected places, sometimes in cracks of old stumps, on moss-covered stones, or along the banks of a quiet stream. Over years, these tiny beginnings may grow into towering trees, joining the canopy in quiet succession, continuing the forest's long story. Every tree, every fern, every creeping vine has a role to play. The smallest sapling can one day influence the air, water, and soil around it. Its leaves filter carbon dioxide, its roots stabilize soil, and its shade cools the forest floor, creating conditions for insects, birds, and mammals to thrive. Forests operate as networks of cooperation, not competition alone. Nearby trees exchange chemical signals and sugars through underground mycorrhizal networks, alerting one another to stress, sharing resources, and collectively protecting the community from threats. Humans, too, can be a part of this quiet web if we choose to act gently. Planting a single tree, protecting a neglected patch of woodland, or even choosing to walk quietly among trees can have rippling effects that extend far beyond our immediate presence. Each small gesture contributes to the larger story, a story that unfolds slowly, patiently, in its own time. They respond to subtle shifts in temperature, rainfall, and soil conditions with strategies that have been refined over millennia. Some species adjust their growth cycles to bloom earlier or later depending on seasonal changes. Others shift their range over decades, following patterns of water, light, and nutrients. These adaptations are not hasty or desperate. They are deliberate, measured, and resilient. They remind us that survival is rarely about speed. It is about persistence, continuity, and maintaining balance. In many ways, forests teach us patience. They remind us that life does not have to be loud to be powerful, that quiet, steady work can shape entire landscapes over centuries. Imagine a forest 100 years from now. Perhaps you planted a tree today, a tiny seedling in a small garden or forest edge. Over the decades, it may grow into a towering canopy tree, its leaves stretching skyward, hosting birds, insects, and small mammals within its branches. Its roots, invisible beneath the soil, will connect with others, exchanging nutrients and chemical messages, sustaining not just itself but an entire community of life. Its presence will influence humidity, airflow, and even microclimates, contributing to the slow, steady regulation of the environment around it. Every gust of wind that rustles its leaves, every drop of rain it intercepts, every breath of oxygen it releases, becomes part of the invisible rhythm that keeps the forest alive. Even in regions affected by human activity, forests show remarkable recovery. In abandoned farmland or degraded land, pioneer species may take root, followed by shrubs and trees, gradually rebuilding layers of soil, leaf litter, and canopy. Birds and insects return, and slowly the forest regains its intricate soundscape. The gentle hum of insects, the whisper of leaves, the distant calls of birds. This is nature's patient, enduring way of healing. Recovery may not happen in a single human lifetime, but forests operate on a different timescale, reminding us that long-term thinking often yields the most profound results. Forests also hold lessons in balance. When we hear of climate change and environmental stress, it's tempting to feel helpless. But forests show us that resilience is built slowly, quietly, through countless small interactions. A root sharing nutrients with a neighbor, a bird dispersing seeds, a layer of moss retaining moisture for a sapling. Every detail matters. By appreciating and protecting even fragments of forest, we participate in these subtle processes. Each protected grove or reforested area becomes a miniature sanctuary, a living classroom in patience, cooperation, and endurance. Our connection to forests is not only ecological, but deeply emotional and psychological. Walking under a canopy, breathing the cool, fragrant air, hearing the distant hum of insects or the soft rustle of leaves, we experience a calm that is hard to find elsewhere. Forests reduce stress, lower heart rates, and help us feel rooted in something far larger than ourselves. They invite us to slow down, to notice the small, delicate details of life, and to feel gratitude for the persistent, unseen labor of nature. Even as we look to the future, forests continue to adapt to changing climates. Some trees adjust their flowering times or seed dispersal schedules to match shifting weather patterns. Others form new symbiotic relationships with fungi or insects. Some species migrate slowly to cooler regions, while others tolerate new extremes. These adjustments may seem small, almost imperceptible, yet collectively they are part of a grand, ongoing effort to maintain balance and continuity. Forests demonstrate that adaptation is not always dramatic, it is often subtle, patient, and cumulative. As you imagine these forests of tomorrow, picture the quiet power of a single tree, standing in place for decades, even centuries, witnessing change, sheltering life, and sustaining the land around it. Picture the canopy breathing with the wind, the roots stretching silently beneath, connecting with countless others in a network of shared survival. Even as humans move through their lives, forests continue their slow, graceful dance of growth, decay, and renewal. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, let your mind drift among these trees. Feel the texture of leaves brushing overhead, the soft hum of insects, the gentle shadow of trunks stretching across the forest floor. Imagine roots linking underground, sharing life, creating a hidden rhythm that continues without pause. Let the calm, persistent energy of forests fill your thoughts, carrying away stress, tension, and the hurried pace of the day. Allow yourself to be lulled by the quiet, ancient patience of these living systems. If this journey through the quiet majesty of forests has touched you even a little, I invite you to subscribe to Sleepy Science. By subscribing, you join a gentle community of explorers who seek calm, wonder, and a deeper connection with the natural world. Every subscription helps others discover the soothing rhythms of forests, one slow, mindful breath at a time. Tonight, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the forests cradle you. Let their steady heartbeat and patient presence guide you into rest. Sleep easily, softly, and know that the quiet, enduring life of forests will be waiting for you tomorrow, ever patient, ever resilient.